I still remember the sound of my mother-in-law's heels clicking against our wooden floor as she approached my husband Mike at the dining table. The room was filled with the aroma of lasagna that I had spent hours preparing with the hope of finally earning her approval. My stomach was turning. The morning sickness was brutal. I was barely 6 weeks pregnant, but I still had not told anyone. It was then when everything changed. Jane, my mother-in-law, put her hand on Mike's shoulder and leaned in to whisper something in his ear. I saw his face shift from relaxed to completely furious in seconds. The warm brown eyes I had fallen in love with turned cold when he looked at me. "Is this true?" he demanded, standing up so quickly that the chair scraped against the floor. "You have been lying to me." Before I could respond, his hand came out of nowhere. The slap was so strong that it made me lose my balance. I stumbled and leaned against the wall. My cheek burned and the room began to spin while tears filled my eyes. It was then that the wave I had been holding back all night came. Right there in front of both of them I vomited. Mike stepped back surprised. He looked disgusted, but then he froze. He noticed something unusual in my purse that had fallen open on the floor. A positive pregnancy test had slipped out. His face lost all color. "Sarah, are you?" He could not finish the sentence. I touched my aching cheek while tears ran down my face. "Yes," I whispered. "I am pregnant. I was going to tell you tonight. That is why I prepared your favorite dinner." The silence in the room was deafening. Mike looked at the pregnancy test and then at his hand, the same one he had just used to strike his pregnant wife. Jane stood there motionless. Her perfectly painted red lips were pressed into a thin line, but in her eyes I could see the surprise. "Oh my God," Mike whispered, his voice trembling. He reached out toward me, but I pulled away from him. From the man who had promised to love and protect me, he had struck me while I carried his child in my womb. In that moment, watching my husband struggle with the horror of what he had done, I realized that our lives would never be the same. The secret I had wanted to share with Joy had come to light in the worst possible way. Now I had to decide if I could trust him again. If I could forgive him, and most importantly, if I could risk staying with someone who might hurt me and our baby. The sound of a door opening made us all jump. Emma, our neighbor, stood in the entrance. Concern was written across her face. "I heard a scream," she said as she took in the scene, my red cheek and Mike's rigid posture. Jane, with her upright figure and haughty attitude, tried to calm the situation. "Everything is fine," she said coldly. But nothing was fine, and I knew it would not be for a long time. I remember the day I met Mike as if it were yesterday. It was a Friday afternoon at Carter's Cafe in downtown Austin. I was grading exams. Being a third-grade teacher means your weekends begin with a mountain of math sheets and creative writing assignments. Suddenly he accidentally spilled his coffee over my students' papers. His frantic attempts to save the papers made me laugh. "I promise I am not usually this clumsy," he said desperately, drying the papers with napkins. "Please let me make it up to you. A coffee or maybe dinner." That is how it all started. Simple, sweet, and completely perfect. Mike was everything I had ever dreamed of. Successful but humble, funny but responsible, and he looked at me as if I were the most fascinating person he had ever known. Our first year of marriage was beautiful. We bought a little house with a small backyard. We talked about having children someday and spent weekends dreaming about our future. Then Jane moved in with us. "It is only temporary, darling," Mike assured me. "Mom is going through a difficult time with the divorce and needs support." I wanted to be understanding. I tried. But Jane had a way of making me feel insignificant in my own home. Nothing I did was enough. The house was never clean enough. My kitchen did not meet her standards. And apparently neither did I. I did not take good enough care of her precious son. Mike worked so hard, that is what Jane would say when she saw me preparing his lunch. According to her, he needed more protein than that. When Jane moved in, the changes in Mike were subtle at first. He began criticizing things that had never been a problem before. The way I folded his shirts, the food I cooked, even how much time I spent talking on the phone with my sister. Every criticism seemed to come after those private whispered conversations he had with his mother. Things got worse when I discovered I was pregnant. 3 weeks earlier I should have felt happy, but instead I was terrified. I hid the morning sickness and made excuses to go to the bathroom at school. I kept crackers in my desk drawer and blamed my fatigue on end of semester stress. I wanted to tell Mike first, to have a moment of joy just for us before Jane intervened with her opinions on how I should handle my pregnancy. The night of the incident, I had planned everything perfectly. I prepared Mike's favorite lasagna, his preferred wine, even though I would not drink it, and even bought a small onesie to surprise him. But Jane insisted on coming to dinner. "Family dinners are important," she said, inviting herself. I was in the kitchen layering pasta in the lasagna when I heard Jane on the phone. "She is hiding something, I know it. I have seen her running to the bathroom at odd hours. She is probably having an affair. Mike deserves better than that tramp. My hands trembled as I put the lasagna in the oven. An affair, that was what she had whispered to Mike during dinner. Why had he rushed to believe the worst of me? Now standing in our dining room with Emma witnessing the consequences of what had just happened, I felt the weight of everything. Every wrong assumption, every whispered lie, every moment I had stayed silent just to keep the peace. Instinctively my hand moved to my belly. The baby inside me deserved better than this. I deserved better than this. Sarah, Mike said as he approached me again, his voice breaking. Please let me explain. But Emma had already put her arm around my shoulders. She is coming with me, she said firmly. And it is better if you do not try to stop her. As Emma led me out of the house, I heard Jane's voice behind us. Mike, darling, she is hysterical. You know how women get in her condition. The door closed behind us, cutting off Jane's words, but the damage was already done. My perfect life had shattered in a single night, and I had no idea how to pick up the pieces. The days that followed at Emma's house were a blur of tears, morning sickness, and endless calls from Mike, all of which I let go to voicemail. Emma, bless her heart, took care of everything. She went to my house to pick up my clothes, called the school to request my sick days, and held my hair while I dealt with the morning sickness. Your house is no longer a home, Sarah, Emma said one morning as she pushed a cup of ginger tea toward me. Sitting at her kitchen table, I remembered how everything had changed since Jane moved in. At first they were small things. She would reorganize my kitchen while I was at work, saying she just wanted to help. She made comments about my weight, saying she was worried about my health. But what hurt most was her influence on Mike. Remember last month, Emma asked gently when Mike skipped your sister's wedding because Jane said she felt too anxious to stay alone. I felt the familiar pain in my chest. He had not even questioned it. He simply called my sister and made excuses while Jane smiled behind his back. The constant calls and text messages from Mike were like a broken record. I am so sorry. Please come home. I will fix it. I never wanted to hurt you. But among those messages also came ones from Jane. You are destroying this family. Mike is devastated by your drama. A good wife would come home and resolve things. A week after the incident, I had my first prenatal appointment. Emma came with me, holding my hand while the doctor confirmed I was 6 weeks pregnant. The sound of my baby's heartbeat filled the room, and thick, steady tears began to fall down my cheeks. My cheeks were full of tears, a mix of joy and sadness. Mike should have been here for this moment. Would I ever be able to share this instant with him and with our child together? Would you like me to record it? Emma whispered. I nodded, unable to speak. That night I sat in the guest bed at Emma's house looking at my phone. I had promised myself not to contact Mike, but hearing our baby's heartbeat changed something inside me. With trembling fingers, I sent him the recording and a simple message. The heartbeat of your child. His response was immediate. Please, can we talk in person? Without Mom. I looked at my reflection in the bedroom mirror. The bruise on my cheek had begun to fade, now a greenish-yellow tone, but the fear in my eyes was still there, fresh. Could I face him? Should I do it? My phone vibrated again. This time it was Jane. How dare you send him that without discussing it with me first? I am his mother. I should be involved in these decisions. Something inside me broke. 3 years of staying silent, of trying to please her, of watching my husband slowly become her puppet, all overflowed. I wrote a response I had been holding back for years. You are not involved in the decisions about my baby. You never have been. You never will be. I blocked her number before she could respond. Minutes later Mike called. This time I answered. Jane went too far, he said before I could speak. His voice was urgent and full of remorse. I heard her on the phone with her friends boasting about how she saved me from your supposed affair. Sarah, she made it all up. God, I believed her. I struck you because I trusted her lies. His voice broke and I could hear him crying on the other end of the line. I need you to choose, Mike, I said with a voice firmer than I actually felt. Your mom moves out or I do not come back. And if I do not come back, I will talk to a lawyer about full custody. I am not going to raise our child in a home with violence. The silence on the other end of the line was so long I thought he had hung up. Finally he spoke. Could you see me tomorrow at Carter's Cafe where we met? Mom will not be there. I promise. I just need to see you. I looked at my still flat stomach but carrying our future. All right, I whispered. Tomorrow at 2. But Mike, if she shows up, this is over forever. She will not, he said firmly. I choose you, Sarah. I should have always chosen you. I hung up, but I was not sure if I could believe him. For the sake of our baby, I had to try. The next day I arrived at Carter's Cafe 15 minutes early. My heart was pounding hard. The familiar smell of coffee beans that normally gave me comfort now turned my stomach. I chose a table near the door, an easy escape route if needed. Emma was parked across the street ready to help if anything went wrong. The bell above the door rang exactly at 2. Mike entered alone just as he had promised. He looked terrible, unshaven with dark circles under his eyes and wearing the same blue button-down shirt he had worn the night of the incident. My body tensed as he approached, but he stopped a few steps from the table, respecting my space. "Can I sit?" he asked softly. I nodded, watching as he sank into the chair across from me. His eyes went to my stomach and then away with guilt. "I threw her out," he said bluntly. "Last night. Now she is staying at a hotel." I wrapped my hands around my cup of tea, trying to process what he was saying. Just like that? He admitted she had screamed, cried, and told him he was abandoning her. She said he was choosing. He swallowed with difficulty. "I cannot even repeat what she called you. But I packed her things myself. I told her if she did not leave I would call the police." A couple at the next table glanced at us sideways and I lowered my voice. "But why did you not do it before? After all the times she hurt me?" "Because I had become her," his voice broke. "When I struck you I became everything I hated about her. Controlling, violent, always ready to believe the worst." He quickly wiped his eyes as if ashamed of crying. "The sound of your head hitting the wall will not stop replaying in my mind. And then seeing that pregnancy test." He held back a sob. The barista announced someone's order and the sound made me jump. Mike noticed and winced at my reaction. "I am afraid of you," I admitted quietly. "Do you understand that? I am pregnant with your child and I am afraid of you." "You should be," he whispered. "What I did has no excuse. But Sarah, please believe me, it will never happen again. I start therapy tomorrow. I already had my first session." He paused for a moment before continuing. "I need to understand why I let her control me. Why I became this person I do not even recognize." I took a deep breath, trembling a little. "I have conditions, Mike. There are no negotiations." He leaned forward. "Anything. Jane never sets foot in our house again. No vacations, no visits, nothing. She will receive no information about the baby. No photos, no updates. Nothing." "Done," he said firmly. "You continue with therapy," I added. "We will also do couples therapy. And if you ever raise your hand to me again I will leave. No discussions, no second chances. I will press charges and seek full custody." His fingers tightened into a fist. "I understand," he said. He took out his phone and pulled up an email. "I already found a couples counselor." He slid a business card across the table. "This is my lawyer. I asked him to draft documents that give you full custody if I ever become violent again. A single incident is all it would take. The documents are in process." My hand trembled as I took the card. "Are you serious about this?" "I love you, Sarah," he said, looking at his hands. "I love our baby and I hate myself for what I did." When I heard that heartbeat I realized I was becoming the kind of father I never wanted to be. The kind of father who makes his child afraid. The silence between us was filled with unspoken fears. Finally I broke the silence. "I will not come home today," I said. "I need time, and we start with couples therapy." He nodded and the relief was visible on his face. "Would it be okay if I go to the next doctor's appointment?" For the first time since that horrible night I felt a small spark of hope. "Yes," I said, "but Emma comes too." "Of course," he accepted quickly. "Whatever you need to feel safe." As we sat there, the afternoon light coming through the cafe windows, I realized we were at a crossroads. The path ahead would be difficult, full of therapy sessions and rebuilding trust, but at least now there was a path. The following 2 weeks were a strange dance of careful boundaries and small steps forward. Mike attended his therapy sessions twice a week and sent me photos of his check-ins at the therapist's office. Dr. Martinez, our counselor, helped us begin to rebuild, mainly through supervised sessions where we learned to communicate without the toxic influence of Jane. But Jane would not go away easily. "Mike, your mother is outside my classroom again," I texted him one Tuesday morning. Through the window I could see her sitting in her silver Mercedes watching the school entrance. My third-grade students were at recess, but my hands trembled as I wrote. His response was immediate. "Do not move. I am calling the police." 15 minutes later I saw through my classroom window 2 police officers approaching Jane's car. She played the perfect victim role, tears, trembling hands, just a concerned mother worried about her son's marriage. But when they told her to leave, the mask fell. "She is poisoning my son against me," she shouted loud enough for me to hear through the closed windows. "She trapped him with that baby." My classroom assistant Susan placed a protective hand on my shoulder. "I want you to record this," she whispered. "It could be useful for that restraining order you mentioned." I nodded, grateful for her quick reaction. That night during our counseling session, Mike broke down when I showed him the video. "I had never seen it before," he said, his voice hollow. "That is exactly how she acted when Dad left. shouting, making accusations, playing the victim. I looked at Dr. Martinez. I always believed her version of everything, Mike said. The generational pattern of abuse is strong, Dr. Martinez said gently. But Mike, you were breaking it. Every time you choose Sarah and your child over your mother's manipulation, you were breaking it. Later that week we had another prenatal appointment. Emma drove me with Mike following in his car, one of our new safety measures. The ultrasound technician pointed out the small shape of our baby on the screen. And for the first time since the incident, Mike took my hand. I let him take it. Would you like to know the gender? The technician asked. Mike looked at me questioningly. I nodded. It is a girl, she smiled. A girl. My free hand went to my stomach. Looking at Mike protectively, I saw the same thought in his eyes. Our daughter would never know the pain of being afraid in her own home. That afternoon, as Emma and I were leaving the clinic, we found Jane waiting in the parking lot. Before I could react, Mike stepped between us. Leave now or I will call the police again. I have a right to know about. Jane's voice rose hysterically. She must have been listening through the clinic walls. No, you do not, Mike said with a firm voice. You lost that right when you made me hurt her mother. Jane's face contorted. I never made you do anything. She shouted. She is turning you against me just like your father. The security is on the way, Emma interrupted with the phone in her hand. She had already been ordered to call the police immediately. When security approached, Jane retreated to her car, but not before shouting, "This is not over. That is my grandchild." That night in Emma's guest room, I finally let myself break down. Mike sat on the floor outside my door. We were not ready for him to stay yet, but he refused to leave me alone after Jane's appearance. I filed for the restraining order, he said through the door. For the three of us, you, me and the baby. My lawyer says so. With the video from the school and the clinic, we will handle it. I pressed my hand against the door. On the other side, I could hear him doing the same. I am sorry, he whispered. For everything I put you through. For every time I failed to protect you. For every time I chose her. I know, I said softly. But Mike, I need you to understand something. I am not doing this for us. I am doing it for her. I touched my growing belly. She deserves better than what we had. Yes, he responded. She deserves it. And I swear, Sarah, she will have it. We will have it. We will give her everything we never had. Safety, trust, love without conditions. For the first time in weeks, I believed him. The restraining order arrived a week later. It was renewable for 3 months based on behavior. Seeing it in writing made it real. We were doing this. Mike and I continued our therapy separately, twice weekly sessions with Dr. Martinez for couples counseling. Slowly and painfully, we began to unravel years of manipulation and control. Tell me about the first time you noticed Jane's influence changing your behavior, Dr. Martinez asked Mike during a session. Mike rubbed his face thinking. 2 months after our wedding, Sarah made this beautiful birthday dinner for me. But Mom had already surprised me with lunch. She knew about the dinner. Sarah had told me. When I got home, she started saying how worried she was that Sarah was wasting money on expensive ingredients when she had already fed me. And what did you do? Dr. Martinez asked. I looked at him with shame in my eyes. I complained. I remembered that night I had thrown all the food away, crying in the kitchen while Mike and Jane watched television in the living room. The old patterns run deep, Dr. Martinez explained. But recognition is the first step to change. In my 5th month, we felt ready for me to move back home. Emma helped me pack. Are you sure about this? She asked, folding my maternity clothes. No, I admitted. But I need to try for her. I touched my growing belly. The house felt different when I returned. Jane's things were gone. Her photos, her decorative plates, her passive-aggressive sticky notes about cleaning. Mike had repainted the walls in soft yellow and green tones we had chosen together for the nursery. I got rid of the dining set and he said quietly, I bought a new one. I did not want you to have to look at that table every day. The new table was warm round oak instead of Jane's formal mahogany. No hierarchy, no head of the table where she used to hold court. In its place, we developed new routines. Mike would text me before coming home, giving me time to prepare for his arrival. We cooked together instead of me handling everything. Meals, every decision about the baby was made together without any outside intervention. The first test came at 7 months. Jane sent a gift for the baby to my school. An expensive silver rattle with a note saying that family heirlooms cannot be kept away by restraining orders. Mike took it straight to our lawyer. I know she is testing the limits, he said, and made sure we knew she was still watching. The rattle was returned through legal channels with a warning about violating the restraining order. That night Mike held me while I cried. And if she never stops, I whispered, and if our daughter has to grow up looking over her shoulder, then we will protect her, he said firmly. Every day. I will not fail her the way I failed you. Dr. Martinez helped us make a safety plan. Passwords for daycare pickup, security cameras for the house, a list of protected contacts who could help in case of emergency. As my due date approached, we faced another challenge. The birth plan in the hospital that Jane had somehow discovered. In which hospital I had registered. We have to change hospitals, Mike said, showing me the message his mother had sent through her cousin. She was already trying to get information from the maternity ward. So we changed the registration with Emma's address and made sure all hospital staff knew. Regarding the restraining order, it seemed extreme, but seeing Mike take these measures to protect us helped rebuild my trust in him. You are doing the work, Dr. Martinez said in one of our last sessions before my due date. Both of you, that is what matters. Looking around our renovated house, the nursery we had built together, the man Mike was without his mother's influence, I finally felt something I had not felt in months. The labor began at 2 in the morning on a quiet Tuesday. Mike called Emma first, then we followed our practice plan. Hospital bag, car seat ready, security cameras checked. There were no signs of Jane's Mercedes near our house. The delivery room was calm, nothing like the chaos I had feared. Mike stayed by my side, holding my hand and whispering words of encouragement. Emma watched the door, our self-proclaimed sentinel. After 12 hours of labor, our daughter Lily Grace arrived into the world screaming at the top of her lungs. She is perfect, Mike whispered with tears running down his face. She looks like you. While holding Lily for the first time, I studied her tiny features. My dark hair, Mike's nose, 10 perfect fingers and toes. She was everything we had fought for, everything I had protected. The first test came sooner than we expected. We received a delivery of flowers at the hospital addressed to my first granddaughter Lily. Mike intercepted it before it reached our room. The card said, "Blood is thicker than water. She will need her grandmother very soon." Instead of hiding it, we faced it together. Now the hospital security doubled their rounds. Emma's partner Tom, a police officer, volunteered to stay outside our door during the night shift. We were surrounded by protection from people who understood our need for safety. My home was different from what I had imagined during my pregnancy. Mike had installed new security cameras, changed all the locks, and even added extra lighting around the house. But inside it was just us, our little family of 3. "Welcome home, Lily," I whispered, carrying her into the room we had created together. It seemed like a sanctuary painted in soft colors and full of books and stuffed animals chosen by both of us. The first weeks were a blur of midnight feedings and diaper changes. Mike took extended paternity leave, which showed his commitment to being present in every moment. We developed our parenting style free from Jane's critical voice. At Lily's first checkup, our pediatrician smiled at us. "She is thriving," he said. "Whatever you are doing, keep doing it." That night, while we sat in the nursery with Lily sleeping peacefully in her crib, Mike took my hand. "I saw Mom today," he said quietly. "She was at the grocery store when I was buying more diapers." My heart stopped. "What happened?" I asked. "She tried to approach me. She asked about Lily." He squeezed my hand. I walked away. I called security. I followed our plan. I let out the breath I had been holding. "And how do you feel?" "Tired but sure. Our daughter will never know that kind of love. The kind that hurts. The kind that controls. She will only know the real kind." Looking at our sleeping daughter, I knew he was right. The cycle had been broken. Our house was now filled with a different kind of love, one that protected instead of controlled, one that built instead of destroyed. Lily stirred in her sleep, making those little baby noises that melted our hearts. Mike and I sat there watching her, our hands still joined. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" I asked. "For giving me a second chance. For showing me what a real family looks like." I leaned on his shoulder, feeling truly safe. "It was the first time in years we were doing it together," I said softly. "And we will keep doing it every day for her." Outside, the sun was setting on another day of our new life. A life we had fought for. A life we would continue to protect. A life in which our daughter would grow up knowing only love and never fear. And that made every struggle, every tear, every difficult decision worth it. Thank you for listening to today's story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. See you in the next story.